What is the title of the talk again? How to get what you want. Okay. Well, first of all, you have to distinguish what it is that you want. Sometimes that is unknown. Like, what is it that you actually want? Oh, sorry, I forgot I was doing a live talk. Okay, sorry, where was I? What is it you want? So first of all, you have to work out what it is you want. To really know what it is you want. Like, is it that you want $1 million? Or you want lots of success? Or that you want children, or a lover, or others, attention, friendship? What is it that you really want? Once you work this out, then you will realize what it is that you truly want, you always have. These are just superficial wants. And they're not bad. I'm not saying that you shouldn't want them or that that's not right. It's just they're more on the surface. And when you really go into what it is you want, what you want is freedom. And freedom is this moment. Freedom is what's happening right now. It's not something in time. And even all those other wants, really ultimately, the functioning of them is actually to come back to this moment in a way, not necessarily like, so say if you have a business, like you want it to be successful, so there's that momentum towards it. It's not like you want it to be unsuccessful and you want to earn money, but like when you think about it, success really it's abstract. Like, so you've got this moment and you're working away at your business and you're doing your books or you're doing advertisement and you're imagining how to make it work, and then you imagine its success. And when you imagine its success, there's a vibration of positivity that happens. That's really beautiful. But really it's an imagination. And the imagination creates positive energy in your body. And if you're still seeking, then that vibration of positivity will relax you into this moment. So it'll actually give you a glimpse of this moment. So in a way, like everything is all mind-made. So you have this imagination of your success, and then the seeking stops, is halted, and then all that's left is this moment, because you're not trying to avoid this moment. You know, when you have positive feelings, you're not like, oh, let me get to the next moment. Oh, I don't like this, or I do like this. There is a relaxation, and this is why people get addicted to pleasure. Really what you want is to be present. It's just not you being present, because in presence you is precluded. There is no you. There is simply what's happening, and there isn't a border between who you are and the world. There is simply everything. So right now, you might think that you're sitting listening to someone talk, but this is a division that's happening in your mind that makes it feel like you're separate from the air, from the computer, from my face, from my voice, from the sofa behind me, the wall, the shutters, the window. You have never been separate. So inside your mind, there is a storyteller. And this storyteller has all types of stories. And it has such a profound effect on you. And throughout your life, the storyteller tells you a repetitive story of you. And it's affected by genetics, and then it's also affected by the life in which it experiences. And we take that storyteller, we take that person to be who we are. So the voice now says, move your hand, or I've just come into this room, or I don't like so-and-so, or this person down the pub yesterday was a real pain in the arse. And it chatters inside the body and it says, I have free will. And I choose to listen to Lisa. It's my choice. I choose to walk around this world. I choose to do things. I choose the clothes I buy. I choose the life I live. And it's always telling you stories. And we take that to be who we are. We take that as the actual chooser. That's somebody inside the body choosing, and that's somebody that's living a separate life from everything else that it's seeing. And the biggest story it tells itself is that it's my job to choose the correct path to happiness. It's my job to strive for happiness and to obtain happiness and to have a good and happy life. And it lives in this world of itself. And to me, that is a life of suffering, to believe that that is who you are and to live in that dimension. It can have lots of pleasures because when you think you've got your life right, then you're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And normally, what most people think is a good life is winning over others. So getting more money than others, having better children than others, having a more successful job than others, gathering more things than others. It's so incredibly fickle to believe that your success is dependent on the failings or successes of others, on what others are doing. We're very obsessed with in humanity with competition. It's done us well, and competition is fun, but it's got nothing to do with happiness at all. It's got nothing to do with peace of mind or to really knowing yourself. It's simply an activity. And that activity of success can create lots of pleasure, because if you do better than others, then you can keep repeating that story to yourself, and then you experience pleasure. You experience lots of positive sensations in the chakra, and then your mind is like, ha, I'm happy. And it kind of creates a presence when there's lots of pleasure. But what happens if you suddenly lose? Because normally life isn't like constantly going uphill. Normally there is, I'm not laughing at anyone when I say this, but normally there is destruction. I'm laughing at our own stupidity as humanity to not counter that factor in. Normally like, there will be no destruction in my life, it will just be an uphill sail. Normally there is, and it tends to be that the more dramatically up, the more dramatically down. So what happens is, because the mind thinks in opposites, normally what happens is the mind, you have to battle the mind, because if you've been really successful, then the mind begins to fear losing that success, and it begins to get paranoid. If you look at like a lot of stories, and often they reflect this back, you know, you get all your nuggets and then you're trying to hold on to them. I mean, this is what we're always doing as humanity, is we're getting all these nuggets and then trying to hold on to them, shit on them, and then we can't, we're like, and then they roll out again, they roll out, and you can't get them to stay with you. And you're like, motherfucker, is it me? Am I cursed? Is it me that's done this? Why is this happening? No, it's my partner. It's because of my partner. They're doing this. It's because of my old best friend. It's because of my mother. It's because of my conditioning. It's because of the education system. And it creates a lot of like mental anxiety, because the mind is about solving problems. So in one way it's negative, it's like about solving problems. It's going into a situation and solving the problems in order for us to survive better. But when you're kind of telling yourself this constant story about how great your life is, or say if you've been really successful, how brilliant things are for you, and you're repeating this story internally of you and your success, then it's like some people even tell me that they get this like flashes of darkness coming. And the reason it is because your mind is focusing on that is your happiness. So then it's like the shadow comes and plays with you. And your mind begins to get out of control. And then normally, eventually you get into this type of stuff, and then you think it's about controlling thinking. And it's not exactly controlling thinking. I mean, thinking, I think, is the source of separation. It's the detachment from thinking. Thinking is thinking. And at the moment, most people are having a love affair with their thinking. They're having this love fest of the stories they're telling themselves. And hate fest as well. Love and hate fest. And it's a detachment from that. It's seeing that thinking isn't who you are, that you're not a name, that you're not a title, that you're not a behavior, that you're not the money you have in your bank or the kids or any of these things. These are simply thoughts that are arising, and that right here, right now, there is a presence that's beyond that. There is a presence that's between that, that's inside of that. I always love that quote from her, which I've told you many times, about when she's talking to her lover about coming to find her, and she says to him, I loved you so much, the story of us became slower and slower. I loved you so much, I loved you so much, I began to read the story of us slower and slower until it got so slow that the spaces between each word was infinite. And this is where I reside now. I mean, it's beautiful. The spaces got so big, they were infinite, and this is where I reside now. From loving something so much. That's beautiful. So you see, it's sort of like, it's not the getting rid of the words, it's sort of in between and as the words, as the thoughts. It's when we start, it's like we got to get rid of thinking, and you got to explore thinking, and you got to tame the beast of thoughts for sure. But it's then seeing there's something so much beyond that, more beyond that. Who you are is a presence, and that presence is creating everything, and that presence isn't against you. But you have to learn the nature of what presence is. The presence isn't based in good or bad. The presence doesn't care about growth or destruction, about winning or losing, about being happy or sad. Presence is in love with itself as itself. It doesn't even know itself. It just is itself. It's experiencing itself. What we're always thinking about as humans is, what is good or bad? What can I get that's good or bad? What can I have? What's in it for me? The pleasurable sensations. Will this bring me lots of bliss or pleasure? And so that's what obviously the person and the thoughts are thinking about, because that's all they can think about. And it's kind of like a surrender. But in a way, it's nobody's surrender. It's like really contradictory, because who would surrender? But it's like a surrender back into this moment. It's kind of on the human level, which is constructed by thought. So you could say like the thoughts or this energy of the human or the attachment to the human gives up, whatever it is. I mean, God knows. There is something that gives up trying to make your life work. Make your life work. You can't make your life work. On the human level, you can have better lives than other lives. There can be more safe and secure lives, but really it's surrendering back to what you are. And then the mind is like, how do I do this? And it can't see the absolute contradictoriness of that question. I mean, maybe at some point it can when it listens to these talks enough, but it's such a contradiction, the idea that you, so this thought of you, has to go through time and do something in order to get to this moment. So it's kind of like, if we want to talk in the timeline, I can say that, yeah, sure, it seems like the person goes through this relaxation program or this deconstruction program. So, and that's quite a mysterious thing too, like this letting go of all your previous notions. By all of your notions. So what the person does, the identified person, is It's always holding on to thoughts and belief systems. This is what makes it up. And these belief systems are like a habit of the body, and then this like entity, this energy of you holds on to them as if that is you. So it becomes very personal, the belief systems, if you believe in God. Or like I was thinking about, I don't know why I was thinking about this earlier, it's a really ridiculous thing to be thinking about, but I was thinking over it. Maybe I've seen something. Where I think that prostitution should be legalized. But I also really understand why countries don't legalize it. And I don't really see prostitution as a good thing or a bad thing, but I see that more than likely it's not so good if it's illegal, because then the woman wouldn't have the safety and the security of the society. If it's legal, then the society will help protect them more. But anyway, even in that, so all of that idea, in the end, it's all bullshit. It's just an idea, but some people could take that idea so personally and be so against it or so for it. And I have a preference into the way my mind thinks, and so there's a preference there, but in the end it doesn't matter. Like, it's just a thought. And there isn't an inherent goodness or badness that you're going to find, even in murder. Like, even in these extreme circumstances, obviously our body has a preference, so I have a preference not to hang out with like murderers. It depends on why or the reason of them murdering. But yes, there might be a preference, but in the end, like, all judgment is suspended. Like, what is it that you're holding on to? Like, in non-duality, I see so many people holding on to belief systems. And even in non-duality, there's no belief system to hold on to. Like, what are you going to hold on to? Like, yes, there is no self, let's fight about it. There is a self, let's fight about it. This teacher's right, let's fight about it. It's all, that's all identification. Like, the identification is trying to make itself solid, because ultimately it isn't something that exists. So if it holds on to these ideas, then it kind of forms an existence. Like, it seemingly makes something solid. Like, because if you're not holding on to any ideas, then who are you? If you're not even holding on to the idea of you, then who are you? What are you? Who is this illusory you? Oh, I realized I'm looking in the wrong thing. Looking into the light. There you are! And so the body has habits of the way it thinks. So I'm going to have a habit of being liberal. And that's most probably from being into this subject and being into the arts. You know, like, I studied arts at college and university. So it's going to be an open-mindedness. And just, the body has a habit of the way it produces thoughts. And then if you've got a mind that's really close-minded, like really like this is right and that is right, then that is a habit in a way, but it's also most probably accentuated by a person trying to be something very solid. Like a person trying to maintain an identity. It could be that there's no identity there and there's really like solid ideas. In the end, who knows? But most of the time it comes from this illusion trying to be something. Like, who are you without ideas? Who are you without ideas? Like if you drop the idea of being strong, being intelligent, being wise, being in spirituality, having money, and the ideas, all ideas, if you drop it now, who are you? And then you might say your body, but that's even an idea appearing now. You can see hands and legs maybe, but you can see this room more than you can see that body. So you can see that more than likely the bodies begin to, as they get into the subject, their ideas begin to get really flexible. They challenge all their ideas. And that can be really painful, having your ideas challenged. It can be like trying to move a massive rock, like something that you believe in really profoundly, like goodness. I mean, that's, I think, what a lot of people get tumbled over on this subject, is goodness or saving the planet. Like, this is very strong ideas. And in the end, they are beliefs, like what, right here, right now, what planet is there? What world is there to save, and who is this you that needs to save the planet? Who is this you that needs to help people? There is a habit, so if you've got that predisposition, most probably you'll be set up to want to save the environment and save the world. But in the end, what is this idea of goodness? It all turns to dust in the end. And what does it really matter if humans survive or not? Humans, if they don't survive, then the self won't know itself. Of course humanity has to survive. Why? And it's all an idea, it's all very conceptual. You have right now, we don't even know there is a future. We only know it in thoughts that you've been taught and been indoctrinated in through this society. What happens when you really begin to break it down? Like, what does the world look like? The world might even change, because more than likely the thoughts are creating this world. Quantum physics begins to suggest this, or suggests this, that the object isn't formed until it is observed. Isn't that crazy? Are we still going? I should really check. Yes, we are still going. Oh, that really tickled my lips. So what ideas can't you, like what ideas are you identified with? What really makes you run into time and try and run away from, like being bad? Do you hate the idea of people as seeing you as bad? That can create lots of seeking, like trying to always be good, the good person. Like, what happens if you become the bad person? Pourquoi? But what is it that you really need to hold on to? And that's the seeking energy. So it's not so much the habits and the ways in which the person is formed. It's the seeking energy that really holds on to it, that it really believes that if society believes you're bad, that that your life will be over, like it's the worst thing for you as an identity moving in time.